calling this How to Optimise Your Plant Society website using content strategy, keyword research and competitor analysis to increase your organic traffic. I'll get to what that is in a moment if you don't know, and grow membership. And of course, it's not just about getting new members, it's about supporting the members that you currently have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some free tools that you can use to create a content strategy that will get more people visiting your website, that will then give you these benefits. So it will get people aware that you exist, following you, interested in your content, and some of them will hopefully become members as well. All right, so first up, why bother optimizing your website at all? So if you create optimized content, otherwise known as SEO content, which stands for Search Engine Optimized Content, you're creating content around strategically chosen keywords. Keywords are search terms that people are typing into Google and other search engines. And the whole point of creating this optimized content is to get you on page 1, ideally, of Google when people type in keywords that are related to your plant society. So what this means is that generic garden blogging is out. It used to be the case in the 1990s and even the early 2000s that you got a lot of points from search engines purely for creating like regular content on your website. But search engines have got a lot smarter. They now use a lot of different tools to analyse the content that you're putting on your website and to see whether people like it, right? So this isn't just a machine learning thing. Machines are learning what the people want, and then they're judging your content based on whether it fulfills people's needs. So you've got to produce quality content that's around these strategically chosen keywords in order to get on the first page, ideally, of Google. Why do you want to do that? Well, it results in increased organic traffic to your website. Organic traffic is traffic that you haven't had to pay for, so it's not coming via an advert. And it's also not people typing in your name, right? So they're not typing Scottish Rock Garden Club or the Orchid Society of Great Britain into Google to find you. They're typing something much more generic to come to you via organic search. So they're typing something like alpine plants or orchids. And then your content, hopefully, is showing up on page 1 and they're clicking on it and they're coming through to your website. So if you create this optimized content, you get more people doing that, basically, more people finding you and clicking through to your website. And why do you want them to do that? Well, ultimately, it will lead to certain benefits like increased membership. This does depend a little bit, of course, on combining your optimization with good copywriting techniques and marketing strategies, which I'm not really going to touch on very much today. But just so that you're aware, if you've got 2 people who are on page 1 of Google and one of them says, 7 shade-loving plants for garden borders, discover 7 shade-loving plants that will have your deepest, darkest borders bursting with life in our latest article. Right, if you've got that, and then on the other hand, you've got garden blog, see how Richard Johnson's garden looked in May 2021. And you've, which one are you going to click? Right, you're going for the first one, right? If you've typed in shade-loving plants or something like that, and you've got those 2 results, it's very clear that you're going to click on that first one. So there's only so much you can do with optimization. You've also got to combine it with good copywriting that gets people clicking through. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about this increased membership here. So it's, to some extent, it's a numbers game, right? So if currently you know that your website gets sort of 500 visitors per month, and one of those 500 will buy a membership, if you manage to optimize your content and use good copywriting techniques to get people clicking through, and you now start getting 5,000 visitors a month, so it's your original figure times by 10, you'd expect your memberships to increase tenfold as well, right? You'd expect the conversion rate to stay broadly the same. So you'd now be expecting to get 10 of those visitors buying memberships. So that's why. What do I know? So these are the figures for the Plant Society I was just working for. You'll see that in February 2018 to January 2019, these were their figures. So they had just over 98,000 visitors in that whole time to their website. 70,000 of those, nearly 71,000, came to them via organic search. So that's what we've been talking about, typing in a keyword into Google that was relevant to that Plant Society. The Plant Society's content shows up on page 1 of Google and they click through to the website. But it was dropping off at a significant rate of knots, because by the next year, you can see February 2019 to January 2020, massive drop down to 71,000 overall visitors and nearly 46,000 people coming through organic search. And the memberships for the society were doing exactly the same thing, just a massive, massive downward trend. And it had been going on for years. And then I joined in just after this, February 2020, so we're over here. So you can see it's just a massive difference, isn't it? We've got 130,000 people visiting the website and 82,000 of them visit through organic search in that year. So you can see it's a massive increase on the year before, but it's also a pretty big increase on the previous year as well. And the reason is because I'm employing the techniques that I'm going to show you now. So hopefully you can achieve the same results. All right, so I'm calling this 5 steps to fab content strategy. Okay, so step number 1 is quite simple. Go back. All right. So step number 1, identify possible keywords for your society. So this is just having a very quick brainstorm and thinking, which keywords do we think, which search terms do we think we would like to rank for on Google? So I want you to actually think about it right now. For your own society, what are the relevant terms? Have a little think. Okay. So for Scottish rock, it might be something like alpine plants might be one search term. Another one might be rock gardens, but you might have other ideas as well. And then I've come up with some for some of the other societies who are here, but you'll all have your own. So for the Japanese Garden Society, we're looking over here. Maybe Japanese garden, maybe Japanese plants. For the British Clematis Society, clematis, but maybe also something less obvious like climbing plants. For the Orchid Society of Great Britain, and I know we've got some other orchid people here as well, Thames Valley Orchid Society and so on. You might want to go with British orchids or wild orchids. So you just need to do that up front and centre to get you started. So then step 2 is you need to perform keyword research using tools like This one's brilliant. seranking.com, so it stands for search engine ranking.com. And there's another one called Answer the Public. And what you're doing is you're going to type in the keywords you just identified into these tools, and you're trying to find what I call your sweet spot. So what's your sweet spot? Your sweet spot is a term that has good search volume and not too much competition. Okay, that's the ideal. So let's talk about good search volume for a moment. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're the National Vegetable Society and you have an article and it's called vegetables that look like bats. You're going to probably be number 1 on Google if somebody types that in. Problem, no one's typing it in, right? So it doesn't help you in any way. So what you want is to find a search term that people are actually using. Now, what good search volume is going to look like depends a little bit on you. So you'll need to have a little look, if you can, at how many visitors you already get. So if you get 100 visitors a month to your website at the moment, then a search term that 100 people are searching for a month might well be a good term, right? Because if all of those people click through, or even, just 50% of those people click through on your content, you're, getting a massive increase in your traffic. If, on the other hand, you get, 5,000 visitors a month currently, you might want to aim a little bit higher. Okay. How do you know how many people are coming to your website? You can get a free tool called Google Analytics, which you can put onto your website, and it will tell you how many people are coming to your website, and also how many people are visiting particular pages on your site as well. So it's a good thing to get. It's free. Older websites might not support it. So if you've got a very old website, that might actually be another good reason to think about updating it. Okay, so good search volume, not too much competition. So a search term like orchid is going to have a really massive search volume, but it's probably going to have massive amounts of competition as well. So lots and lots and lots of people trying to rank for that term. And if you've got big hitting websites trying to rank for it as well, then it's going to make your job even more difficult to get onto page 1 of Google. So for example, if you've got big charities trying to rank for that, or big, national magazines and things. So if House Beautiful have got orchid content, if the RSPB have got orchid content, and BBC Gardener's World have got orchid content, you can see it's going to be quite difficult to get yourself in there. So that's why you need to find this sweet spot. So I'm now going to just show you how the tools work. I'm hoping you can still see this. Please do shout if you can't. So it's just loading. I had loaded it beforehand, but it's decided it's going to load again. All right, so this is what seranking.com looks like. You actually need to scroll down to get to this box, so the box is a little bit further down. Just ignore everything that's at the top trying to sell you anything and come down to this box. You're going to use the keywords you just found for your society in this box. And you're going to type them in and click Analyze here, and you're going to look at the results. So say I'm the Japanese Garden Society. I might type in Japanese gardens and click Analyze. And this is what I will see. So you can see that's the search term I've picked, Japanese gardens. Did not expect my kitten to be as much of a pest as she is being. Excuse me. You can see here it tells you how difficult it's going to be to rank for that term. The lower this bar, the easier it is. The higher this bar, the more difficult it is. You can see over here the search volume, so how many people search for that. This figure here in the centre gives you the average search volume per month for that term. So you can see on average it's 18,000 people search for Japanese gardens every month. But you can also see that it changes month by month, and if you hover you can see how many people are searching for it. And you can see, I think this is really interesting, in November and December it has quite a significant drop off, that search term. But over here in May, look how massive that is. 27,000 people are searching for Japanese gardens in May. Have a look down here and it gives you some really interesting information. So similar keywords and related keywords. These are other things that are similar that people are typing into Google. Now, given that this looks quite difficult to rank for, based on what we've seen already, you might start to look at some of these others. And this is what you need to do, whoever you are, whichever society you are, type in your seed keyword, look at this, and then come down to the similar keywords and find something else. If you just click on that, it will do it for you. It will do you a new search. And it will tell you all the same things for this new search term. So for your more specific search term, Japanese garden ideas, it will tell you how difficult is it, how many people search for it, and so on. So you can see, much easier to rank for. Still, I would say, probably quite a good search volume for that society. On average, 5,000 people per month, and again, still a very big spike in May, 12,000 people searching for that in May. All right. The other thing that I recommended was coming to answerthepublic.com. So don't use those two tools just completely independently. Use them together. Plug in keywords into each one and it will give you a better idea of the lay of the land. So this is what the homepage of Answer the Public looks like. You're going to come down to this box, type in your keyword like Japanese garden ideas and click search. And what this will do is it will tell you what are the questions relating to that keyword that people are typing into a search engine. This is important because as time has gone on, people do still search for things like orchid, but they're much more likely to type an actual question into Google, like, why is my orchid dying? Or how do I get my orchid to reflower? And if you can find a question that people are asking that there isn't great content for, then you can, that's your sweet spot again, right? It's a question lots of people are asking and there isn't a good answer online, so you can create one. So let me give you an example of using this tool. So I've gone with searching for clematis and seeing this just to show me what are people asking, which questions are people asking online. And you can see it does take a few minutes to get your data for you, and then it's going to show you this picture for whichever term you've searched for. And you can see people are asking questions starting with how, who, what, can, which, and so on. And then around the edges, you can see what exactly are they asking. And the darker green means that more people are asking that question. If it's tricky for you to see this, by the way, because it is a bit small and it's all slanted and stuff, you can click, there will be a button here in a moment, to save the image onto your computer. And if you do that, you can actually zoom in to have a look at it. So it will look like this, and then you get a zooming tool, and if you click, you can zoom right in to have a look. Okay, so you can have a look and see these are all the different questions people are asking. Over here, let's go with some why questions. Why clematis leaves turning yellow? Why clematis not flowering? Why clematis leaves turn brown? So you've got all of these questions, and you might think, oh, okay, I wonder whether there's any good content out there that answers these questions. And if there isn't, you could create that content to fill that gap. Another good thing about this tool is it stops you from chasing dead ends. So I'll just give you a quick example of this. You might think, we're a plant society, so perhaps one of the keywords we want to rank for is plant society, right? You plug it into SE ranking, this tool over here, and it comes out and it says, oh yeah, there's lots of searches for this, not much content about it. And you might think, oh, brilliant, this is golden. But then when you plug it into the Answer the Public tool, it actually, because I've done this, all the questions that people are asking are, why plant society garlic? When plant society garlic? How plant society garlic? So there's something called society garlic, right? And all the plant society questions, or almost all of them, are about society garlic, not about plant societies. So using both tools together is best. All right. So you've found your sweet spot by looking at those tools. You've identified some common questions. You're now moving on to the next step. Come on, computer. Oh, it's very slow, isn't it? I wonder if I can shut some of these and speed it up a bit for you. Come on. Yeah. It will do it. Sorry. Bear with me. There we go. Told you it would. All right, so step 3. Search your sweet spot keyword on Google. So you're now going to visit Google and have a look, typing in that sweet spot keyword you found or the question you found that you think you might want to rank for into Google. And you're going to check 2 things. Firstly, where do you rank? So where in the list are you? And secondly, what's the high ranking content like? Is it any good? Who's producing it? What's it about? Can you do better? Now, I did this for Japanese garden ideas, and I found that the Japanese Garden Society was 142nd for that keyword. So that's 40. Google normally only displays 10 results per page, so that's page 14 of Google. So the reason you want to look at that is because it gives you a good baseline for judging how well your content's performing and whether it is actually pushing you up the rankings. And then looking at the high ranking content is going to give you a good idea for what you need to produce and how you might better what's already out there. You need to be just a tiny bit careful here because Google knows that you're you. And the reason that matters is because If you're the National Vegetable Society chair, you probably look at the National Vegetable Society website a lot. And Google knows that. So Google, to make your results nice and customised for you, shows you National Vegetable Society content more often than it's going to show your average Joe that content. So you need to anonymise yourself. And the way to do that is to go to something like DuckDuckGo is an anonymous search engine, or go to a place called anonymouse.org, and you can basically surf the internet as if you're not you, and then you can see sort of what other people would see if they weren't you. The next step is to create content cluster ideas with what they call cornerstone content that relates to other articles. So what you do is you have a central piece of content here, and then it links out to other articles which are related to that central piece. So, for example, the Japanese garden ideas one, your cornerstone content might be, that's going in the centre here, it might be something like 7 Japanese garden ideas to transform your outdoor space. Okay? And then you're going to literally list it. Number 1, water features, with a little paragraph about how Japanese gardens use water features. 2, Japanese plants, with a little paragraph about that. And then each paragraph is going to link out to an article that has more in-depth content on that topic. This, if you take nothing else away from what I've said today, this is absolutely key to getting your content displayed prominently on Google. What a lot of people do, a lot of sort of people who are perhaps experienced writers but not experienced writing for web, is they include too much. They have an article that does everything. So they'll have an article about cyclamen, and it talks about how to sow cyclamen seeds, different types of cyclamen, just everything, cyclamen diseases and problems. And that is problematic because it's not going to get returned for keywords because it's doing too much. So what you want is this structure to your content. All right, and then your final step, step 5, is that you need to optimize each article for keywords, again, and use good copywriting techniques. So I could do an entire session on this alone. Some of you probably already know how to do this, but you need to be ensuring that your keyword is appearing in strategic places like the URL. So that's the address of your page. So for example, if the web address of your article is Your Plant Society website /XYZ585, that's not going to return as well for Japanese garden ideas as your web address /Japanese garden ideas. Make sure your keyword is in that web address. Same thing with titles on your page. Make sure your keyword is in there. Readability. Make sure, unfortunately, lots of people reading websites do not have a high reading level. But do you know what? People with high reading levels, they can read things that are written for people who haven't got a high reading level. So it's good practice to make sure it's very readable, which means basically quite short sentences and simpler vocabulary where you can. Obviously, you don't want to dumb it down too much, but just bear that in mind because search engines bear it in mind. You want to break your content up with images and white space. You want to link out So this is back to your cornerstone content linking out. You have to link to your other related content, but also link to other websites that are relevant as well. It actually helps you, it boosts you, because it tells Google that you're a good source, and it tells Google what your page is about. And then another option is to get some collaborators as well. So imagine you write your article on grow your own veg, and you produce it as I've suggested. You do all your keyword research, you link it to your other articles. That's going to be really, really good, and it's definitely going to help you to rank on Google. But if you also go to some of your expert growers, especially if they already have a good presence online themselves, and you say, do you fancy contributing a quote to this article? Most people say yes, and then you let them know when you release it. They will also push it out on their channels, and you get a boost from that as well. I've put Join HPN, which is something I've created, which has garden media professionals on it, basically. So these people can help to push out your content potentially. If you want to join, drop me a line afterwards and I can help you to do that. I'd love to have you. It would be so good to have some Plant Society folk on there. All right, so that's it from me. I hope you found it helpful. As many of you probably know, this is who I am now. I'm a content consultant for horticultural and environmental organisations.